This is a true story. A friend of mine who lives in Vietnam personally experienced this and shared it with me. Everything you're about to hear really happened. My friend is a young woman who had moved to the city for work to support her family. She got a job at a shoe sole manufacturing factory that operated around the clock with day and night shifts. What happened there still haunts everyone who witnessed it. The factory was huge, with nearly 2,000 workers, but only 2 restrooms, one for men, one for women. In the women's restroom, there were 6 stalls, but only 4 were in use. The other 2 were locked or used for storage. Because of the heavy traffic, the cleaning lady had to constantly clean the restroom to keep it usable. Around 11 a.m. that day, the cleaning lady went in to clean as usual. She wiped the mirrors, sinks, and moved toward the stalls. Stall number 1 was empty. Stalls number 3 and 4 were briefly occupied and then vacated, but stall number 2 remained locked for a very long time. Thinking someone was still inside, she knocked gently and called, "Hey, are you done? I need to clean." No answer. She knocked harder using her mop handle. Suddenly, the door creaked open on its own. There was no one inside. Confused, she stepped in to clean, but as soon as she looked down into the toilet, she let out a blood-curdling scream and collapsed on the floor. The nearby workers heard her scream and rushed in. She was sitting on the floor, pale and trembling, pointing toward the stall. Some brave workers peeked inside, and what they saw shook them to the core. Inside the toilet bowl, floating in a pool of blood, was a fetus, a fully formed baby boy, lifeless and abandoned. Shortly after, the factory manager, a woman who had been married for nearly 10 years but had never been able to have children, arrived. She calmly approached, sorrow filling her face. Using her bare hands, she gently lifted the tiny body out of the toilet, sobbing, "Oh God, some people desperately want a child and can't have one. Others have a child and throw it away like this. Don't worry, little one. I'll take you to the temple. You won't be alone." She carefully washed the baby, then placed him into a black plastic bag handed to her by the cleaning lady. At that moment, among the crowd, a young female worker suddenly broke down, crying uncontrollably, far more intensely than anyone else. She slowly walked over, knelt down beside the manager, and hugged the woman's leg tightly while sobbing like a desperate child. Auntie Nga, thank you. My mother, she was so cruel. She took pills, she killed me, then flushed me down. People peed and pooped on me all morning. It was so filthy, so disgusting. But you weren't afraid. You picked me up with your bare hands. I'm so grateful. Thank you, Auntie Nga. Thank you. Suddenly, the girl's expression changed. She glared toward the group of men, her face twisted with rage. "You bastards! You got my mother pregnant and left her, that's why I ended up like this." Then abruptly, she collapsed, unconscious. When she woke up, she had no memory of what had happened. Her throat was raw, her voice hoarse from screaming while possessed. Everyone knew the fetus's spirit had possessed her to reveal its injustice. The manager kept her promise. That very day, she took the baby to a temple, arranged for a proper burial, and asked the monks to pray for the child's soul. Everyone deeply respected her for this. As for the baby's mother, people soon figured out who it was. That morning, one female worker kept going to the restroom, complaining of feeling sick. After the incident, she requested time off and never returned. Strangely, about a year later, the manager, who had been unable to conceive for nearly a decade, suddenly became pregnant. Many believe that the abandoned soul of that baby was reborn as her child. This story also came from my friend in Vietnam. After the horrifying incident at her previous factory, she quit and moved to a different factory not far away. But her experiences with the supernatural were far from over. At the new factory, which also made shoe soles, they operated non-stop with day and night shifts, just like her old job. But what happened here was even more terrifying, and this time my friend saw it all with her own eyes. She was working the night shift alongside a co-worker named Trin, a girl her same age. But Trin wasn't acting normal. She kept stepping out of the factory, leaving her station over and over again. She looked pale, sickly, like something was weighing heavily on her. At around 5 a.m., Trin came back once more, exhausted and late again. The team leader noticed and began scolding her for repeatedly disappearing from her post. But before anyone could react, Trin suddenly lunged forward and grabbed the team leader by the neck, choking her violently. What shocked everyone was Trin's strength. She was a petite girl, thin and weak, but now she gripped the team leader's throat so tightly that even several men struggled to pull her off. Her voice began to change. It deepened, growing rough and harsh like a grown man. The sound that came from her mouth was unnatural, a low, guttural growl. People around started whispering in panic, "She's possessed." And then, through Trin's mouth, the spirit started speaking. "I'm 85 years old. I drowned and died right here decades ago. This girl was born on a day that matches my spirit. That's why I entered her body." When Manager Hao arrived, he was visibly shaken. But the spirit wasted no time unleashing his rage. "You begged me years ago. You came to me, asking for my help so you could rise in this company. I helped you. I gave you success. And what did you do? You broke your promise. You failed to give me the offerings you owed. You worshipped at the wrong place. The others took my share. I was left with nothing." Then the spirit made his demands. "Go buy bananas, burn them for me. Get clothes, I need something to wear. I've been dead for years, cold and empty. You either pay what you owe me now, or you'll suffer like the others." Terrified, Hao obeyed immediately. The workers rushed out to buy bananas, incense, and clothes. They set everything up right there in the middle of the factory floor, under the spirit's watch. Once everything was prepared, the spirit, still controlling Trin's body, sat there calmly eating the bananas, while the incense burned thick clouds of smoke into the air. The scene was horrifying to watch. People stood frozen, witnessing something none of them would ever forget. Dam Kong Nyan Deng Im Lang. Finally, after eating and receiving his offerings, the spirit loosened his grip. Trin's body suddenly collapsed backward, unconscious. The workers rushed to catch her. When she woke up, she was drenched in sweat, completely exhausted, and she had no memory of anything that had just happened. As for Manager Hao, even after the incident, he continued secretly making offerings in fear that the spirit might return. But word eventually reached the Korean owners of the factory. Hao was demoted and stripped of his position. He went from being a manager to just another worker. Even now, some workers still secretly leave offerings inside the factory, afraid that the old man's spirit still lingers, waiting in the shadows. This story was also told to me by my friend in Vietnam, who heard it directly from a co-worker. The events took place during a business trip to Thailand. The co-worker was traveling to Thailand with a group of 5 people, 3 men and 2 women, for work. When they arrived, they checked into a hotel that was fairly old but still clean and well-maintained. The front desk handed them their room keys. Oddly, the group noticed something strange. All of their room numbers ended with the digit 6, 106, 206, 306, 406, and 506, 106. They joked nervously about the unlucky number, but no one thought much of it. After settling in, they went out for dinner and some sightseeing around Bangkok. Later that night, when they returned to the hotel, the 2 women decided to stay in one room together, leaving the men to take separate rooms. Around 2 a.m., one of the women woke up feeling suffocated, like something was pressing on her chest. She opened her eyes and saw, at the foot of the bed, a dark figure standing silently, staring at her. The figure had no face, no eyes, just a dark, misty shape, like thick smoke taking human form. Frozen in fear, she couldn't scream or move. The dark figure slowly floated closer and closer to her face. Suddenly, her roommate woke up, saw the thing, and screamed. At that moment, the dark figure vanished into thin air. Both women were terrified. They stayed up the rest of the night, too scared to fall back asleep. The next morning, they asked the hotel staff if anything unusual had happened in the hotel before. After hesitating, one staff member finally admitted, many years ago, a woman committed suicide by hanging herself in room 407. Chills ran down their spines. The room they were staying in was... After that, they immediately packed their things and moved to another hotel. Even though they escaped unharmed, none of them ever forgot the night they came face to face with something that was no longer human.
Thank you so much for watching until the very end. If there were any mistakes or missing details during the storytelling, I sincerely apologize and hope you'll kindly overlook them. If you enjoy creepy true stories and chilling ghost encounters like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any future episodes. Wishing you a peaceful night, and be careful out there when the darkness falls.